2011 saw a new chairman elected to the Kennel Club. Steve Dean joins us now, along with Simon and Andrew. Now, Steve, how's your first 6 months been?
Very enjoyable. A little daunting at first because you have to pick up on an awful lot of issues. I've enjoyed so far. I've listened to an awful lot of people, an awful lot of people's views, met a lot of people I had not met before. So the 6 months from my perspective has gone pretty well.
And can you tell us where you've come from, your background?
Sure, I'm a veterinary surgeon, of course, but I hope I was elected as chairman more with my dog credentials in mind, because I am a Border Terrier breeder. I also have shown and exhibited my Border Terriers, having won one ticket at Crufts. But I also previously just retired from the civil service, where I was chief executive of the Veterinary Medicines Directorate, which is a government agency licensing medicines.
What do you think you've brought to the Kennel Club so far?
Well, I like to think that I've started a culture of openness and people listening to each other. Certainly the time where we decided to do away with single CCs went down very, very well with the showing public. Certainly at the committee meetings there is a great deal of debate now, and I think I'm really trying to get people to open up, and as I said at the start, the outside world regarding the Kennel Club as their Kennel Club rather than the Kennel Club all the time.
Of course, we won't see the CC allocation coming for a few years yet.
Well, we have been through the 2014 allocation, I think it is, and we did take quite a lot of care over that. Indeed, it went backwards and forwards a couple of times as people challenged certain aspects. We're in a difficult time because in some breeds numbers are going down, in some they're going up, and as you know, we have a formula that determines the number of CCs that are available to a breed. And so as numbers change, CCs changed. Everyone's pleased when they get an extra set. Everyone's not so pleased when they lose a set. So it is a bit of a challenge to keep the balance right.
Now, Andrew and Simon, as judges yourselves, have you seen any changes on the ground in the past 6 months since Steve's inception?
Well, he's touched on that what has been one of the major hot potatoes, which was the single CC. And to be quite frank, I never found one exhibitor who was actually in favour of the concept of the single challenge certificate. And Steve's arrival coinciding with the doing away with the single CC certainly gave him major brownie points, I think, as far as...
Let me be absolutely clear, though, it wasn't my idea. That was something that came about in discussion.
I worded it carefully, Steve. I did say it coincided.
I appreciate it, Andrew, but I'm quite happy to share the
You're not going to take full credit.
No,
it's very noble. Yeah.
Having said that, I would say that if you look at the statistics, the single CC concept worked. But of course, you're quite right that it wasn't popular with the showing public.
And we all know statistics can tell whatever story we like.
To an extent.
To an extent.
I was confident that it had worked. However, we've now taken the decision to do away with it. We've listened to people and we'll move on.
And tell me, why wasn't it so popular then?
Well, I think basically everyone who shows dogs, the vast majority of them, take a dog and a bitch. Or two dogs or whatever. But the majority of our exhibitors are not single dog exhibitors. And I think that everybody likes to sort of have two chances. One of the major problems with the single CC was we all know that periodically in all breeds you will have a dominant dog, be it a dog or a bitch. And it was felt that, for example, in some of the terrier breeds, I mean, Steve's a terrier man, where there was like a dominant male around at the time, several people of my acquaintance who were showing bitches said, well, we can't really see the point in going. And, you know, it was this rather sort of defeatist approach to shows which started to infiltrate, you know, the sport, which I think was very negative, but hopefully is now a thing of the past.
Absolutely. Now, another thing that came about just before Christmas was the fact that the Kennel Club announced it was becoming a limited company.
Yes.
What does this mean then?
Well, let's be absolutely clear what happened. We held a special general meeting. One of the topics was to discuss whether the Kennel Club should move to being a company limited by guarantee. This is a straightforward business decision, really. and the SGM virtually unanimously, in fact I think it was unanimously voted for the change. What we will now do, or what we're now doing, is looking at the Constitution and the rules, drafting them to fit the requirements for registering as a company limited by guarantee, and therefore we will be presenting those revised rules and Constitution back to the members for their approval at the AGM in May. So that's what we're doing. What does it mean? Very little to the person who deals with the Kennel Club. We undertook at the SGM that the changes would be minimal. The sort of things that it does do, however, is it limits members' liability. At the moment, should the Kennel Club fall into difficulties, and I'm sure it's nowhere near doing that, but should it do so, members are liable if there were huge debts. This way, members would not be liable, or their liability would be limited to what is stated in the rules. And in fact, at the moment, it's traditional to limit liability with £1 per member. The other thing that happens, of course, is General Committee is even more liable, and we want people to wish to serve on General Committee. And if taking on a risk put some people off, we wouldn't want that. Finally, there is just the vague possibility that someone could take over control of the assets of the club, and when you make a limited liability organisation, you can state what should happen should the club wind up, and obviously we would like to see any monies going towards dogs and for the benefit of dogs in general. So therefore this whole process is really a good business sense to just protect what we have as the Kennel Club.
And Simon, I believe you're a Kennel Club member, is that right?
Yeah.
When you heard about this news, did it worry you at all?
No, not in the least. I think it is, from the members' point of view, a fairly cosmetic change, and hopefully one which, as Steve said, will protect the interests of everybody. I think the more exciting news from the special general meeting that many of us went to was the fact that the club is hopefully going to be involved in a property deal which will free up hopefully a considerable sum of money which can be used for various good causes. I don't know whether, Steve, we've got any idea. Do we know as yet?
That was going to be my next question. What's happening to the 12 million?
Well, at the moment, first of all, we've got to get the 12 million.
Yes.
Obviously, I have to be a little bit circumspect, because before all this can go through, we have to have a contract and a deal. There's a lot of people working very hard at the moment to actually generate that contract. We hope to see that contract signed well before the end of this month. Then I think we can set about talking about what we might and might not do with the £12 million.
Tell us a little bit about the premises relocation.
Well, as you know, the plan is to redevelop what is called the Clarges Street site. There is a company that owns all of the premises around our property here at Clarges Street. We, of course, own the freehold here. But all the property fronting on Piccadilly, along Bolton Street behind us, and beyond Clarges Street down here to about halfway down the street, is all part of this property portfolio. And there's a plan to redevelop that whole site. Well, clearly redeveloping it around the Kennel Club would be both challenging, and let's be honest, the deal wouldn't be worth as much without the Kennel Club building. And it's been going on for many years, discussions about where the Kennel Club fits in that. What we've agreed in principle is that the Kennel Club will move out of 1 to 5 Clarges Street and move into a renovated property. The facade, the internals will all be new, which is part of what is currently called Clarges House, which is our neighbour next door. So basically the plan is to redevelop Clarges House, and then the Kennel Club will hand over the freehold of this building and take the freehold of the new building.
Am I right in saying that in the new premises you'll actually have more floor space?
There's slightly more space, but the big thing, of course, is it means from the outset we can design it to be in the best possible layout for the club, and so we can put the members' facilities, the library, the gallery, the dining room, for example, all in one area, and keep the offices more as a group of offices. At the moment, that's planned to be at the top of the building, the offices, and the members' rooms will be on the ground and first floor.
So it'd be more like purpose built, I suppose.
Thank you for the words. Purpose built is exactly the words I was searching for.
And if it does go through, what opportunities will this give to the wider world of dogs as a whole, not just to the membership?
Well, it actually won't change a great deal, but it will make certain things more accessible. So, but already people can come and use the library where we're sat at the moment with this interview. They can go in and look at in the art gallery. In fact, that's open by appointment to the public. So, in many respects, it won't change that much, but it will mean we can service members and the wider dog community more efficiently because the Kennel Club will be set up to do so.
And we hope make a decent sum of money for the future of the world of dogs in the
Well,
bargain.
if you're going back to the 12 million, yes, of course. What we're doing there is basically realising what is capital value of the building, but we actually don't have to do anything to do so other than move next door and get a renovated, purpose-built building. The 12 million, of course, therefore, we should regard as something to be invested. And I know a lot of people have said, oh, you should give it to this and give it to that. We're not going to give the money away if what we're going to do is invest it in things that make sense for the improvement of dogs. And educational areas, welfare areas, training type facilities, those are the sort of things that are likely to be looked at.
What about the profile of the membership as it stands at the moment, Steve?
Well,
do you envisage it expanding in any way?
I would like to see 1,500 members, Andrew. At the moment, we have something like just over 1,200 members. It's not that we don't want members. I would like to see that get up to 1,500. And I'm on record as saying that when we have people banging on the door wanting to join because there's not enough memberships, then I'd be very happy to open up the issue of whether we have got it right on membership. At the moment, I have to confess, there are many other things that are much further up my immediate agenda than opening up the membership.
But what are the benefits to being a Kennel Club member?
Well, mostly people join the Kennel Club because they are already people who are a significant feature in dogs. And many of those go on to be people who might serve on committees. They might join the general committee if they get put forward for that, voted in by the members. So that actually it's not so much that the membership gives a great deal of benefit to someone who's really interested in pedigree dogs. It's more that they are being recognised for their contribution to pedigree dogs. Of course, there's members' facilities here. We've talked about the library and the gallery, which actually anyone can use, but if you actually look at it, okay, there's a dining room, there's a members' room, but really the Kennel Club is a place where people come to meet to discuss dog matters, dog politics, rules and regulations, how to allot CCs. So the Kennel Club is more a centre of activity than anything else. So it's not so much what is the benefit to the member, it's about, well, actually people joining the Kennel Club because they're interested and they want to make a contribution.
Well, of course, we heard in January that the Kennel Club is not choosing to participate in the sequel to Pedigree Dogs Exposed, which caused obviously a lot of controversy in the world of dogs. What and how did that decision come about?
Well, we listened to the producers of the programme and what they wanted to do, but the main influencing factor on us was that we didn't feel that we'd been really fairly dealt with on the last programme. And to be brutally frank, we heard nothing that gave us any confidence that we were going to be dealt with any differently this time. And therefore, why go on a programme and give it input when you have no confidence that what you say will be fairly represented? And so we ultimately decided, and you're quite right, it was as late as January, that we would not take part. And that's it, really.
Sorry, go on, Simon.
There would have been no possibility of you having control over the way that what you said was treated.
We discussed how we might retain some control, but in the end, we didn't feel that control could be guaranteed enough that we would get a fair representation. So we decided not to take part. That doesn't mean to say that we don't have the ability to respond, but we'll respond to the programme rather than dealing with it at the time, because we didn't believe our voice would be heard adequately anyway.
Was there any possibility that the Kennel Club could go in partnership with some to make our own programme to give
Of course.
a more balanced viewpoint at
Of
one
course.
stage. Yes.
And in part, I guess we're doing some of that here.
Yes.
Yeah, so,
But
yeah.
interestingly, I was in Sweden last weekend, and the Swedish Kennel Club has taken the health issues that we're all facing at the moment extremely seriously.
Mhm. As we have, Andrew.
And no, that's
Yeah.
what I was
Yeah.
inferring. When I said we, I meant
Okay.
even though I'm not a member,
Okay.
I was included. I consider myself to be part of the dog world.
Quite right.
I was fascinated to hear Jurgen Bodegaard saying that he and their genetics guy, and also the German professor who's very heavily involved with the brachycephalic breeds, have actually agreed to meet the producer of this program.
Mhm.
And they are extremely upbeat about having this opportunity. And one of the questions that I asked him was, had they in any way attempted to ensure that they would have some kind of editorial control over what was being produced? And it was, I got the impression it was something that had actually never even occurred to them.
Mhm.
My having been in on that meeting, something that bothered me was the fact that the Swedish Kennel Club has, put in motion various moves, are working with them on that program. If they were of a mind to, would the producers actually slant the program in such a way that they could say, now this is what the Swedish Kennel Club is doing, and aren't they wonderful? And if they chose to, of course, the British Kennel Club, and unbeknownst to the Swedish Kennel Club, they find themselves in a situation where they were actually being part of a stick to beat the British Kennel Club with. And I mean, only time will tell, I guess.
Yes, so look, let's be honest. If we see the programme and it is balanced and fair, I will be the first person to compliment it for being balanced and fair. If they do what you suggest, well, we have a very close working relationship with the Swedish Kennel Club, so I'm very confident that we can deal with that. We work with the Swedish Kennel Club on many things.
Yes, I know.
And I don't believe certainly that's their intent, and you didn't suggest it was.
No.
I believe
No,
that
not
if,
at all. I mean,
if that
they've gone
attempt
into it.
if that
with the
attempt is
best
made,
intention.
there is no doubt that our friends at the Swedish Kennel Club, I'm pretty confident, will support us.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. But
So
no, it was
it-
the
it-
point I was making was something that really hadn't even occurred to them.
Sure. Well, let's see where it goes, but the Kennel Club will not be involved in the programme. That does not, in my view, stop the programme presenting a balanced, fair view of the past 3 years, which is what I understand their intent is to do.
But
We will wait and see.
You're not concerned that there won't actually be a Kennel Club voice in the programme?
No, not at all, because we will find other areas to express our voice where we believe it'll be heard more effectively.
Now, talking about Crufts coming up,
Yes.
2012, something quite interesting that's happening this year is we're seeing a list of high-profile breeds
Mhm.
that are going to be inspected. The best of breed will be inspected. This is a new thing that's never happened before.
Mhm.
Are you a little nervous about this?
No, not at all, because other veterinarians will be doing the work. But more seriously, no, absolutely not nervous about it at all. Why? Because it's been very carefully planned. It's been discussed with the veterinary surgeons, it's been discussed with the breeders, it's been discussed with the shows. Now, I'm not going to suggest that everyone is totally comfortable with it, because everyone has concerns. But after the meetings, everybody, after each meeting, has said, this all seems to make sense. Let's be very clear what we're doing. The high-profile breed is defined by the General Committee, and these are breeds where there are concerns that they have suffered from exaggeration, and where there is a history that there are clinical signs of disease or problems associated with that exaggeration. Therefore, what we're planning to do, and what we've always said, is it's up to the judge in the ring to put up the right dogs. And all we're doing is putting in place on those 15 breeds where we have had criticism from the outside world, we are putting in place a veterinary check to make sure that the best of breed has indeed been put forward in good health. If there are clinical signs then the vet will identify those, and the dogs will not be permitted to go forward into the group ring. Furthermore, dogs with clinical signs that show that are associated with exaggeration will not get their champion certificate either. They have to pass a vet check in those 15 breeds to get champion certificate. All we're really doing is putting in place a veterinary check to say these dogs are healthy, they can go through to the ring, and they can go on to become champions. And if judges and indeed the exhibitors do their job right, then the veterinary check is just a formality.
The judges, 99.9% of them are not, in no disrespect, vets like yourself.
Correct.
So they will not be able to go in and see the sort of things and clinical effects that a vet might see.
Look, what we're talking about here, and I've made it very clear to the vets, there is no intention here for them to look at these dogs with an MRI scanner and an X-ray machine and a stethoscope. They will use their hands and their eyes. We are looking for basically 4 areas. We're looking at the structure of the eyelids predominantly, and excessively drooping eyelids or inturned eyelids which are rubbing up and down on the eye clearly are not the sort of things we want to see in the show ring. Judges can see that as well as a veterinary surgeon can. Judges can see an inflamed eye and a discharge from an eye. The judges can see a dog squeezing its eye shut in pain. Those are the sort of things I don't actually believe the exhibitors want to see that in the ring. Is the dog lame? And clearly it's always been the case that a lame dog shouldn't be in the ring, so that's no different. Dogs with excessive folding on their skin, dogs like the bulldog for example, can get quite a lot of dermatitis if there are very deep excessive folds, nasal folds, and if these animals have dermatitis, weeping dermatitis, inflammation, scarring, hair loss, again I just don't believe the breeders want that. So it's a very clear thing. Has it got a skin problem? Has it not got a skin problem? Again, I believe judges can see that. The final area is the respiratory system, and if you've got a dog that cannot walk round the ring without having clear problems breathing, then again we don't want that sort of dog in the show ring. So these are all things that I believe, and no one's challenged this even from the judging world, they're all things judges can see. The vet is, from the veterinary perspective, this is a very simple health check. We're not listening at hearts, we're not looking at anything else. Vets, by the way, are not being asked to judge the dogs. So we are going to give vets a little box where if there's something about the dog they don't like I think this dog's ears are too long, they can write it in the box. But having ears that are too long, in a vet's opinion, is not a disqualifying fault. Being lame, can't breathe, skin problems or eye problems, these are things that will take a dog out the ring.
So I suppose the best case scenario is that exhibitors don't bring those types of
Correct.
dogs to the show, the judges don't put them up.
Correct.
And by the end of Crufts we don't have any high profile breeds with their best of breeds
Correct.
taken off them.
It's very straightforward. Yep. And in fact I look forward at the end of the year to being able to say every best of breed in the high profile breeds went through the group. Be realistic, there may be 1 or 2 that get pulled. Remember though, we've changed the rules, because before the judge had to put forward a best of breed, now we've changed the rules to say may put forward a best of breed. Right. So if in the judge's view, having judged the breed, there is nothing there that he thinks should go through to the group because of these problems, he can refuse to give a best of breed. I appreciate that may not be popular, but at least the judge has the possibility to say, in my view, there is no dog here that should go into the group ring.
Fair enough. And as judges, do you have any comments?
I'd just like to ask Steve, how exactly are the vets selected that are going to be doing
well,
this?
Well, they're basically, what we've done is we've spoken to the veterinarians who currently service all the championship shows. So we haven't spoken to them all. There's 1 or 2 that haven't been able to get to the meetings, and we have some plans to get to them before they officiate the show. And we have given them some guidance and discussed that guidance about how we expect them to go about the process. And as I said earlier, from those meetings, the veterinarians have been quite comfortable with what we've said. We now plan to put a guide together for those vets as a reminder. So for each breed, they will see the sort of things that are of concern, what they should be looking for, and reiterating what it is that is disqualifying or not. So the veterinary aspect, I think, is very clear. These people already have a relationship with the show societies that they deal with, and this is just a simple extension of what vets do already at dog shows. So there really isn't a big issue here.
And what about the practicalities when the best of breed is judged? How does the vet examine it in the ring?
We listened very hard earlier in the year to the discussions on coat testing and so on, and what we've said here is that the best of breed certificate will not be left in the ring. In other words, that might be presented to the best of breed, but then it will be taken back. And to get that certificate, they need to present their dog to the vet, but that is at their discretion. So they can either go immediately to see the veterinary surgeon, they can pick up one of the show officials on the way so that they can be accompanied to the veterinary surgeon, but it is as non-confrontational as we can make it.
And will the breed judge have the opportunity to be present for the examination?
We discussed whether the breed judge should be there or not, but in the end we decided that this was a matter between the vet and the owner or handler of the dog. We did talk about that a great deal, about how many people should be in the room, but we decided that to try and keep it as low in the confrontational sense as possible, it's a simple matter between the vet and the person with the dog. Having said that, a show official can be present because paperwork has to go between the vet and the show committee. But at the end of the day...
So what you're saying is that the judge can't be present, is that correct?
At the moment, that's what we're saying. What we're saying that it should be limited to the owner of the dog and the veterinary surgeon, and possibly a show official.
Do you not think that there could be a situation where a vet may have some nagging doubt about something which the judge of that breed might be able to help clarify?
To be honest, with the simplicity of the examination, I don't believe so. There will always be borderline issues, and we're going to have to deal with those as they arise, Andrew. But in the majority of cases, I think it will be clear cut.
Mm-hmm. If a dog that does, heaven forbid it should happen, but if by any chance it does fail the inspection, will it keep the CC one on the day?
It'll keep the CC, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it will keep the CC.
Yeah.
And of course, depending on why it failed, will depend on whether it then ultimately, if it gets 3 CCs, go forward.
It will have another chance under a different vet, perhaps at a different show.
Every time it wins a best of breed, it will have to go through the vet. So this isn't a situation where it passes one veterinary inspection. To get its champion certificate, it must pass at least one veterinary inspection. However, every time it wins best of breed at a general championship show, it will have to go in front of the vet before it can go into the group.
And the vets at Crufts, they will be the normal Crufts vets who do it?
At the moment, we are having some discussion with the BVA to see if they would like a role in selecting the veterinarian at Crufts, because Crufts is a very high profile show, and we have in the past, for example, when I was the senior vet at Crufts, which was my previous job, people would say, well, he's going to let everything through because he's the Crufts vet. They don't know me that well, do they, Andrew? But we did wonder if a certain air of independence would work, and that discussion's ongoing, and I can't tell you any more. Let me just say, though, that I have every confidence that the vets at Crufts could do this. Of course they can do it. Some of them are very learned people, but they're all good veterinarians, and this piece of work is within the capability of any veterinary surgeon, with guidance that we produce.
So we mentioned earlier in the programme, in our discussions, about what's been known as possibly Hairspray Year, and obviously you mentioned coat testing as well there back at Crufts in 2011, which again riled a few people, the way it was dealt with perhaps. Where do you see this kind of topic going in 2012, and what's the latest?
Well, as you know, this was a hot topic at the AGM. I'd like to say that from where I sat at Crufts, and I was one of the veterinary surgeons who took a coat sample at Crufts, I didn't see this high drama. But I accept that I was only in the veterinary room and I wasn't outside, so I'll accept that there was an issue created. We discussed it at the AGM. We agreed to suspend coat testing and take that whole issue away and look at it. Some people have interpreted that as that we've suspended the whole rule on the use of products on coats. That isn't the case. That rule is still in place. We have suspended coat testing. Ron James, who is one of the other veterinarians, he's one of the veterinary surgeons on the General Committee, took on the task of looking at this for us. And he has been going through a process of consultation. We've had written material come in. We've held a couple of meetings with interested parties. And Ron has produced a draft paper, but he is still waiting for some information to come in before he can complete it. General Committee has seen that draft paper, but it is hanging in abeyance until Ron can finish the report. Then General Committee will see it, and then we will share with the rest of the world the results of that, and probably continue to suggest ways of how we might resolve this. The interesting thing is, shampoos aside, everyone generally seems to agree that we do not want to see show dogs with hair extensions and heavily lacquered, and certainly we don't want them coloured. We want to see dogs as natural as possible. There is a view that a limited amount of hairspray and a limited amount of chalk is reasonable. Personal view, they're probably right. But how do you define limited? And this is the problem, and this is the challenge we face. I would just say, if everyone acted moderately in this, we probably wouldn't have the problem we have on the situation we're in. Hopefully at the end of this process we'll have a way forward that the vast majority of people can accept, and we can move on with what's important, which is all about dogs and not about hairspray.
But Steve, we did actually have an earlier discussion before you joined us about the, not necessarily irony, but coincidence then, the fact that during this year, whilst the testing has been temporarily suspended, we've seen 6 besting shows going to poodles. And I made the point when I was speaking to Marina and Simon that I genuinely believe in the wake of that, I think the majority of people involved with these breeds have actually behaved remarkably responsibly and
Good.
said, look, you know, we're not going to go over the top with this. We're going to prove that we can present our dogs nicely, maybe with, to use Simon's wonderful expression, that soupçon of hairspray. And the dog does not become a caricature. It doesn't affect its health or welfare. It just finishes off the picture. And I think the end of the year results have rather proved that.
Well, and I'd like to think that would continue, Andrew. And none of us want to see people stop showing dogs at their best, but let's see dogs at their best, and not helped along with artificial aids. And that's the balance we're trying to achieve.
Absolutely.
And I think everyone actually is on side.
Yeah, I think there's probably more common ground that people tend to admit.
Yes, I suspect you're right.
Well, thank you very much, gentlemen, for all your comments. Steve, we wish you the best of luck for 2012 and in your new role, completing 1 year in the Kennel Club.
Okay, thank you very much. Thanks for letting me speak.